All right. This is the Legal Lowdown with Joe Ingram, 105.5 FM WERC, just off the campus of UAB and home of the Regions Fairfield, where people will be spending most of their summer through the fall. We're glad to be back with you today. It's going to be a beautiful day, a little cloudy. We've been in the 80s, a lot of pollen the last 2 weeks. Lot of pollen. We need some rain this weekend. We welcome you to join our show and listen to us on iHeartRadio podcast, or you can download my podcast, The Legal Lowdown with Joe Ingram, on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you find your podcasts. We welcome you to call the show, 205-439-9372, 205-439-WERC. You can email the show live, questions at joeingramlaw.com, questions at joeingramlaw.com. You can also call the office this week if your case is of a sensitive nature that you'd like to talk about, 205-825-5297, 205-825-5297. We have a great show lined up for you today, folks. Most people are getting off of spring break. We have a rolling spring break in Alabama. Colleges are usually the second week of March. Then some counties are the third week in March. And then some people are the last week of March. So we're finishing up spring break this week. We're headed into the home run for the kiddies in high school and college. We go through April, the first 2 weeks of May, and then we're out. Can you believe that? We did a whole school system from August to May, and it's over again. The older you get, the faster life goes by. Go figure. So if you're having your first cup of coffee, getting ready for some good basketball today, we ask you to join the show, listen to us, we will talk about some local news. We will talk about some national news. We're going to talk about some state bills that are really important that are just before the state legislature. Their legislative days are coming to an end. We got a caller this morning early? Really? Okay. We're going to go to Judy. Judy, are you with us?
Yes, I'm here. I got a question for you, and I'm against this thing of these judges deciding that they want to cut the term on a killer and put him out on the streets early. I'm definitely against that. But I really wanted to call and ask you something. I'm 82 years old, and my chances are lasting too much longer. Not real good. Maybe so. Anyway, I need to know if I've got one son that has a prodigal son that will have nothing to do with the family, so I've left him out. And I wanted to make sure that the other son, who's been a good son, does not have to fight with him. How easily is it to break a will?
Ma'am, you can change your will 365 days a year. You can break your will well, you can if you're gone. A will is that. Your will is your last living will and testament. Once your body goes cold and you die, that's it. Can't change the will. Although I've seen that done a couple of times in my career.
That's what I wanted to know, if it could be contested and if it could be overruled. You're saying it cannot, or you're saying it can?
There are, no ma'am. I don't give legal advice over the phone. There are no hard and fast rules. I have seen people change their wills on their deathbed that are taking heroin for pain medicine for hospice. There are no hard and fast rules. Okay. Anytime somebody changes their will within 14 days of their death, you have to assume that they do not have all their mental capacities when they change their will. Okay? I appreciate your call. Thank you for calling in, Judy. Have a good day. All right. Thank you, Judy. Hope you listen to the show. Sorry about your situation. See it all the time. I have noticed in every family I always talk about the two biggest fights being one for your life and one for custody. There's always a fight for money in families. Who's getting what? Go figure. Anyway, thank you for listening, Em. We hope you're listening to the show. Like Judy, thank you for calling in. Anyway, the kids are getting off spring break. Everybody's about to go back to school. Everybody's got spring fever. Everybody is at Lowe's shopping for flowers and herbs. Yesterday, I waited in line 45 minutes to get flowers and herbs and potting soil. Go figure. And actually, it's a little early. You're supposed to wait to about April the 15th. I think we're going to have one more cold spell. We shall see. Our show is meant to be informative, educational, funny, witty, hopefully caller-driven, and mine is Judy. So if you want to call the show, call us now, 205-439-9372, 205-439-WERC, or you can email us questions at joeingramlaw.com as your situation may arise. There you go. In the news this week, let's talk about in the news. The story this week has to be nationally. When President Trump left office, everybody said, no one is above the law. No one is above the law. Well, here we are 4 years later. People are going to Tesla dealerships, busting out windows, setting cars on fire. Now, that is not destruction of government property. That is destruction of private property. And if you go interview Democratic people in Congress and you put a microphone in their face, do they comment? They have no comment. Now, they're not actually condoning it, but they're not telling people, please do not destroy property. They're kind of happy about it. What is the difference? I tell you what the difference is. It's called red-blue. There are two sets of laws in this country. There's a set for the red people, and there's a set for the blue people. Every time. The only difference this time around is we have an FBI and Justice Department that are more serious and more committed to actually enforcing crime. And by the way, Tim Walz, who ran for vice president of the United States of Minnesota, do you know he made a comment this week that he said he was happy that the stock value of Tesla had been cut in half? Mr. Walz, did you know that 100% of Minnesota state retirement funds has money invested in Tesla stock? So you're rooting for your own retirees' money to go down when you vote for that. Something to think about there. Anyway, big story this week. One I want to talk about that's in the state. Big story this week. I had this case this week in Montgomery. Tow companies. Tow companies that tow your car without permission. Tow companies that tow your car in a commercial parking lot. There are not any signs with the little signs up that say, if you are a patron or a customer of this business, please stay only 15 minutes. We're talking about big parking lots. Galleria, Target, Walmart, Best Buy, big parking lots. And a tow company shows up. Your car is sitting there legally in a legal parking space, not over the lines. Let's say you're at Costco. Are you blocking the fuel pumps? Absolutely not. Man jumps out, backs up his tow truck to your car, starts to tow your car. You come out of the store with a receipt. You start filming with your iPhone. What are you doing? What? Put my car down. Put my car down now. And the guy says, you don't have to act like that. But just give me a few minutes. No, why are you towing my car? Turns out the person was a customer, a patron of the store, was in the store less than 10 minutes, door to door, bell to bell, had a receipt for $10 and change for some goodies from the store. And they were going to tow his car. He was a government employee. You know what was in the trunk of his car? Government laptop, top security clearance, 2 guns, cash. And I tell you what else, which was most scary. You have to have a badge to get on a federal installation base. Do you think he would have gotten that badge back if they had towed his car? Absolutely not. So if you have those cases in Birmingham, Alabama, or anywhere in Alabama, please give me a call. That is called negligence. And if they tow your car and keep it, and you have to go get it out of the impound, that's called conversion of property. That has been in my crawl all week from a case I had this week. That has just really, really irritated me. And I'm sure it's irritated a lot of you in Birmingham. There was a big story in the news a couple years ago about, what's it called? Where they block your tire. They put the bolt on it to pay them to get it back. What's that term called? Boot. Thank you. I can't think of words. Yeah, boot your car. Yeah, and then they sit there and hijack you. How bad do you want your car back? Is it worth $50? Is it worth $100? You're kind of at their mercy at that point in time. So that's something to think about. Oh, here's a big story in the news this week, internationally. Most people haven't even heard about it. Do you remember all the tsunamis we had a few years ago? There was a 7.7 magnitude earthquake yesterday in Thailand. Bangkok. Always wanted to go to Bangkok. There are 20 dead. The commercial building codes in Bangkok, Thailand, are not what they would be in the United States or Dubai or the UAE, United Arab Emirates. It's kind of sad what happened, but that part of the world in the Middle East, Asia, there's a lot of earthquakes this time of year. Next big story we were talking about off the air. That's going to be the story for the next year. P. Diddy. The P. Diddy trial show is about to start. Kind of like the O.J. Simpson trial, the Michael Jackson trial. This is going to be a show for the next 6 to 9 months. Dr. Phil was on the news the other day, and they're already talking about who has the most high-priced jury consultant for this show. That case is going to be won with the jury consultants. Not the evidence, although the evidence is going to be shocking to the average man or woman on the street. That show is going to be determined by the jury consultants. Open and close. Go figure. And they're already saying that P. Diddy is going to play the race card. It's going to be a little different in federal court. They're not going to sequester the jury. People are going to hear about this story every day, every morning, every night, local news, national news, radio stations. That's going to be the story for the next 6 to 9 months. Oh, this is a great story. There is a high school teacher in Indiana. Like a lot of teachers over the last 5 to 10 years, was allegedly caught having sex with students. Get this, you're going to love this one. Wearing one of those Scream masks. I don't know that I want to have sex with somebody wearing a Scream mask. Not sure that does it for me. Maybe that is for her anonymity. Maybe that's some kind of geeky thing she likes to do. The ski mask doesn't work for me. She is facing decades in prisons. There are 5 to 6 potential victims in that case. Something to think about this week. I think about the 2003 to 2008 time frame when Lady Gaga became all the rage. Guess how old Lady Gaga just turned yesterday? 39. That's kind of weird. She doesn't seem 39. It just seems like she came on the scene the other day. Go figure. Something to think about. Wow. I remember when she did the Grammys and she was the hottest artist of the year. She wore this dress one time that was made out of hanging meat. How she wore the dress, I don't know. It had to weigh half a cow. Can you imagine wearing a dress out of hanging meat? That's like Em in her prom dress at church. She's not happy. She's not looking at me this morning. She says, I'm not going there. Don't talk about that. I've already gone to heaven. I've been rebaptized. Me and my mama made it clear, go away. She's not even looking at me. I can see her. Okay. I won't say anything. It's all good. The Jeffrey Epstein list. Did you hear about this week that it came out? It's out. Guess who's on the list? Alec Baldwin, Naomi Campbell, Mick Jagger. He's 81. Prince Andrew of England. I think Prince Andrew's days are numbered being seen with the royal family. I think that was the last straw that broke the camel's back. We have seen the last of Prince Andrew in public. He is done. Prince William is all about protecting the monarchy. Prince Andrew is gone. Those days are over for him. Oh, former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo was on the Epstein fly list. Now, you know what all those names have in common? None of those people are conservatives or what you would consider Republicans, except for maybe Prince Andrew, but the monarchy doesn't vote one way or another, and they're not supposed to take a political stance. The difference here is that we have AG Pam Bondi and we have FBI Director Kash Patel on the beat now. Just something to think about. Maybe things change on that front. The only person that's been prosecuted out of that case is a lady that rode around the world with Jeffrey Epstein. Surely they would cut her a deal to get her out of prison on this case. Anyhow. Oh, and by the way, Kash Patel, the FBI's 10 most wanted list, 3 of the 10 were arrested in the last month. Go figure. We had 4 years of Joe Biden. Nobody was put in jail. Less than 90 days, 3 of the top 10 on the FBI list have already been arrested. That is the difference. Crime cases are going to go up huge for the next 4 years, or at least for the next 3 years. And then the last year, President Trump is a lame duck. They start running for re-election. So there you go. We have to talk about Ben Affleck. We have to talk about Jennifer Lopez every week. One, his movie, The Accountant 2, is coming out this summer, which I can't wait to see because I love the original, The Accountant. And two, there's so much drama around Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez and Jennifer Garner. Ben Affleck broke his silence this week, and he finally stated that there were no issues between he and Jennifer Lopez. The reason he got a divorce was he didn't want to be the public news every day. He didn't want to be the story. Jennifer Lopez, everything she does is news. Don't you think he kind of knew that before he married her? Don't you think he kind of knew that before you have a huge wedding in Georgia on your plantation and you invite people from all over the globe to a wedding? I don't know. I'm going to go back on my prediction earlier. I do not think Jennifer Garner takes Affleck back. I don't think she's going to do it. I think she's going to raise her children with him. They're going to co-parent. But Ben Affleck will not go back with Jennifer Garner. I had thought that all along, but I don't see that happening now. Go figure. And by the way, for all these Hollywood actors that talk about how they don't want to be in the news, they want to live private lives. Well, to the average person that works paycheck to paycheck, Monday to Friday, 8 to 5, for minimum wage, middle wage, upper in class. We're already going to break? Are you kidding? I ain't even got started. Anyway, well, this is a tease up. When we come back, we're going to talk about some more national legal news, and we're going to talk about P. Diddy. And then we're going to talk about the second hour about the last time I was with you, we did some divorce statistics. This week, we're going to do some criminal statistics, both on a national level and a state level. So this is live. Call the show, 205-439-9372, 205-439-WERC. We'll be back after news and weather. Thanks for listening. All right, we'll be back.
You're listening to The Legal Lowdown with Birmingham's lawyer, Joe Ingram. If you need confidential legal help off air, reach out to Joe at joeingramlaw.com. Stay tuned for more. Joe will be right back after this break for news and weather on News Radio 105.5 WERC. A series of events.
The most important events.
Make for eventful days.
Day by day. What these tariffs are going to mean.
How the market is reacting right now.
The events in Ukraine. More action by Doge.
Found wasted taxpayer money.
In these eventful times.
These are tough and serious times.
It's time.
The times are changing.
So fast.
In any event.
In real time.
Important events.
Check in.
Your version of events.
Information.
News Radio 105.5 WERC.
The legislature returns next week after a break. Jim Faraday with the story.
Expect to see a push for tax relief in Montgomery. Republican former state representative Paul DeMarco telling JT on Alabama's Morning News.
They're hopefully going to reduce another penny of the grocery tax and hopefully get rid of it completely, make some changes to the income tax. So I think that's what we're seeing. It all goes back to Donald Trump in Washington, D.C.
DeMarco says lawmakers could also take up a controversial criminal justice measure.
Get 10 years for murder. Hopefully that will be defeated. There's talk about gambling may come back up. Most importantly, we're going to pass the budgets, but there's still a lot that has to be done.
I'm Jim Faraday.
The Tide is rolling on into the Elite Eight to face Duke in the NCAA basketball tourney. Bama's already defeated BYU, St. Mary's, and Robert Morris. Bama and Duke play tonight, 7:39 p.m. Central in Newark. I'm Charlie O'Brien, and this is Birmingham's news, traffic, and weather station, News Radio 1055, WERC.
Scattered showers and storms back in the forecast for this weekend. Starting today, we'll have highs in the 70s. Not a total washout, but keep an eye out for lightning alerts. A low near 63 tonight. Highs around 80 tomorrow. More scattered showers, possibly a storm. And then early Monday morning, the possibility for some strong to severe storms. A first alert weather day. Improving weather Monday afternoon. I'm WBRC First Alert Chief Meteorologist Wes Wyatt on your side.
Right now, it's 64 degrees at Birmingham's news, traffic, and weather station, News Radio 1055 WERC.
News Radio 1055 WERC. Make us the #1 preset on your car radio and on the free new and improved iHeartRadio app. Listen for all your music, radio, and podcasts. Free never sounded so good.
You're listening to The Legal Lowdown with Birmingham's lawyer, Joe Ingram. Joe is a 20-year veteran of the Alabama courts, specializing in criminal defense and family law. Call in live with your questions now at 439-9372. That's 439-9372. Or write Joe with your question for the show at questions@joeingramlaw.com. If you need a private legal consultation, email Joe at joeingramlaw.com. Now, welcome back to The Legal Lowdown with Joe Ingram.
All right. It's Saturday morning. We're back at 6:33 live, WERC 105 FM. This is Legal Lowdown. We're back? We're back. Okay. I never know with the cut-ins. One day I'm going to get this down right. We're back with the Legal Lowdown. This is Joe Ingram. We had a caller rather quickly this morning. Judy, thank you for calling. If you're having your first cup of coffee, we hope you enjoy us this morning. Talk about whatever your legal issues you may have in the news. One day the music will stop. There we go. It's always very confusing for me. I don't do live radio. Anyway, we're back. We were talking about Ben Affleck, Jen Garner, the Tesla thing. Folks, there has to be a national outcry. Would you run down to your local dealership and start blowing up cars? No. No one would condone that in their right mind. Destruction of property, whether it's personal property, private property, government property, we should not be condoning violence in the streets. That goes against what our system's about, of justice. Legal system. You have a problem, take them to court. We're not vigilantes in the street. You can't do that. Anyway, it's my thoughts on that. We talked about the Epstein files. We talked about P. Diddy. P. Diddy's case is going to ramp up. We were talking about this earlier. I think there's a channel called Tubi, Tubi. It may be a channel sort of like YouTube or Netflix. I'm going to check into that this week. You might be able to watch the entire P. Diddy thing if you're into that sort of legal case. Might be interesting to watch that. Anyhow, let's talk about some local news cases this week. This is a very interesting case that happened in Sheffield, Alabama. Go figure. December the 30th, 2024. The police get a search warrant, go to the wrong house, jump through the window. Teenage girl, point guns at her. Scare her to death, told her she's under arrest. She filed a $300,000 lawsuit for coming in her house at gunpoint. She is claiming Fourth Amendment search and seizure violations, PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. Go figure. You think if you're asleep in your bed and you wake up and somebody points a gun at your head and says you're under arrest, might give you PTSD? Yeah, that would happen. Mental anguish, Do you think she's been harassed a little bit at school about, hey, I heard on December the 30th, the police broke in your house, tried to arrest you at gunpoint? Mental anguish would apply in this case. Emotional distress. You think she's seeing a therapist today? You think she's a little emotionally distressed over what happened to her? Probably. That was in Sheffield, Alabama this week. That case was filed. All they asked for was $300,000. What are the damages? How do you categorize damages for waking up in your bed, somebody pointing a gun to your head, telling you you're arrested, and you're a teenage child? How long do the damages last? You think those damages last the rest of her life? Something to think about. Hey, this is a big case locally. Jacksonville State University voting for their SGA panel, Student Government Association, president, vice president, secretary, treasurer. They instituted a new rule or bylaw that says we are going to denounce that Jesus Christ is king. Now, I understand this is a public institution. I understand that people have different religious faiths. I accept it all. Whether it is Jesus Christ, Buddha, Allah, a tree, whatever you think the final destination resting place is for you. Fine. Good. Why can't we just take a moment of silence? Why do we have to cast aspersions on one denomination? We don't tell everybody that they can't do what they do, but they're so quick to tell all of us, do not push your religion on us. Well, don't push your religion on me. So we've taken religion out of the schools. Something to think about there. Now, if you're at a private university, John Carroll, Stanford University, Notre Dame, all these religious schools all over the country, if you go there, you accept that as part of your academic and your religious education. You're going there for part of that. And if it happens in the classroom, you accept it. Because you don't have to be there, you're there by choice. No one's making you go to a private school. You accept that. Go into a Catholic school. So that's a big story out of Sheffield, Alabama this week. Here is a local story, which I do not understand. The Birmingham City Walk. You guys familiar with that? There is a huge shortage fund this year for the Birmingham City Walk, which I do not understand. The police are government employees. The firemen are local, state, city, municipality employees. The people that clean up the streets are city, government, municipality employees. And then they say, we're broke. We can't pay for the Birmingham City Walk. I don't understand the math here. That you're doing what you're paid to do. It's not something extra. If it happens to be on your shift, you just happen to be cleaning the streets or watching the event during your hours. And the point of the Birmingham City Walk is to get people to come see our beautiful city, to come see all the treasures that we have here, how we've rebuilt downtown, how we rebuilt Southside, how we have all of this stuff here now that we want people to come and see. But to me, it's a no-brainer. If we have a monetary issue for the Birmingham City Walk, Okay, raise private money. Do sponsorships. You don't think corporations, businesses, law firms, car dealerships, people that need branding issues wouldn't put up money to sponsor for the Birmingham City Walk to showcase our city of the Birmingham City? That's a no-brainer. People that work in government, they've never run a business. They've never made a payroll. They don't understand how to think outside a box to solve a problem. We're out of money. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to tax the citizens some more. No, you think outside the box. How do we raise funds? How do we make this work for everybody involved to showcase our city? That is your job as an elected official. Kind of on a soapbox this morning, but there's some things out there, people, we got to wake up. You got to get involved. You got to have a voice. You got to have a say. It's our city. We've got to show what a great city Birmingham is. Something to think about there. If you want to get in touch with me and talk about this, let's raise some private dollars for the Birmingham City Walk and show off all the great artwork we have here, all the great artists we have here. I have wonderful artwork in my office from local artists. This is the greatest city in the South that people don't know about yet, but it's coming. 3 of the greatest cities in the South are right here in Alabama: Huntsville, Fairhope, Mountain Brook. Right here in the great state of Alabama. We are the hidden gem that no one has found out about yet. Eventually, people are going to find out about us, and everyone's going to move here. So support the Birmingham City Walk. It's important. We need it. I'm really sad that we lost our summer event. What was it called? The concert series. Used to be on the street. City Stages. Love City Stages. I went to the very first City Stages, 1999, 2000. Was it a big event then? Then City Stages became huge. And then we lost it. It went bankrupt. We need City Stages back. Was I right on the air? I started in 89. Was I off a decade? Man, I'm getting old. Okay. Oh, well. Anyhow. Oh, another big story this week in the news that's been going on for about 2 years that's happening up in Decatur, Morgan County this week. There is a police officer on trial for murder. He went on the private property of a citizen. The issue is, was he armed? Was he not armed? Did they have a right to arrest him? The police officer shot the person. He's on trial for murder. There's been public outrage in the community. The police officer says he has immunity. He's a state agent. It was self-defense. As of yesterday at about 4 o'clock, I don't think there's a verdict yet. I got to check on that case this week. This is an important issue in the news this week. And that takes us to our next segment, talking about the Stand Your Ground laws. Stand your ground in Alabama. If someone points a gun at you, do you have a right to defend yourself, or do you just turn and run, or do you just stand there and wait for them to shoot you? Stand your ground, self-defense. I've had that case 5 times over the last 6-7 years. Stand your ground. Whether it be a gun, knife, rock, brick, piece of wood, self-defense, stand your ground. That is an important issue that luckily we have in Alabama. The judges are very good when you make a stand your ground defense. And it may save your life from either being dead, a corpse, running, or defending your family and property. Stand your ground, especially in your home. That's an important local story. This is a legislative issue this week. Alabama lawmakers approve a ban on devices that convert semi-automatic weapons into machine guns. Now, I am all for the Second Amendment. Everybody has a right to carry a gun. It's under the Constitution. Everybody needs a gun, especially in Birmingham, Alabama, especially when it's on Friday or Saturday night and you're out walking the streets. Not sure you need a switch on your semi-automatic Glock 9mm to make it a machine gun. Don't think anybody in the public needs to be walking around with an Uzi. Don't think you need that. I'm not saying you don't have a right to machine gun, so all the gun-loving, toting people out there, please do not call the show. I am all for the Second Amendment. I'm just saying no one needs to be walking down the street with a machine gun. Go figure. Something to think about there. So I'm glad that they approved that. The law is always two-sided. It's a balancing scale. The law's of justice. You have to balance the law with what's happening in reality. It's called the scales of justice. Scales of justice is blind. I think the scales of justice did a good job in this legislation. Here is a story that I love to talk about because it's one of my most beautiful cities in Alabama, Fairhope, Alabama. Man, Fairhope is beautiful. The money they spend 4 times a year to redo the flowers in downtown Fairhope, Alabama is outrageous. But here's what they're trying to do. This takes us back to the movie Footloose. Footloose with Kevin Bacon. The preacher in Footloose, he had to go down to the library because they were burning books. Guess what, folks? Fairhope, Alabama, the city council got together. They started to ban books. You can't tell people what to read. You can't legislate the First Amendment. If someone wants to read a book, Little Red Riding Hood, or whatever, they have a right to read that book. You don't ban the book. You don't burn the book. It's somebody's creativity, artistic thoughts on paper. You don't burn the book. You don't ban the book. But the Fairhope community has gotten together, and they have huge complaints over inappropriate books. And so now they're on this soapbox to ban books. Go figure. I disagree with that. I think you should be able to read anything that you want to read in your own time that doesn't affect anyone else. Now, that is some state legal news. That is some national legal news. That takes us to 6:50. You're listening to the Legal Lowdown with Joe Ingram, Birmingham's lawyer, just on the South Side, 105.5 FM WERC. You can call the show live, 205-439-9372, 205-439 WERC. As always, Jeff Hammett, Corey, Spy for Rent. They are your guys. They'll take care of you. They do my work every week. Forgot to mention them in the first half hour, guys. So I'll talk about you for a minute. Corey and Jeff have been doing work. Man, they work about 20 hours a day. They're working about 6 of my cases right now. Spy for Rent are the best investigators in Birmingham, Alabama, hands down. They work around the clock. Jeff is out working somewhere. Corey may be taking a snooze doing surveillance right now. But those two fine gentlemen have got you covered. If you need an investigator, Spy for Rent is the person you need to use. Okay, I think I covered them. All right. So we talked about burning Teslas. We talked about Ben and Jen. We talked about P. Diddy. We talked about the FBI list, how people are getting taken arrested. Oh, that brings it to the second part of my Tesla issue. I forgot to talk about this. Do you remember when the Roe versus Wade issue came out or was about to be released about abortion, and it got released from the Supreme Court, and they were trying to scare the Supreme Court justices from issuing the opinion? Is that not violence to have people go to your private home, picket your home, scare you, intimidate you to get you to try to change your vote as one of the 9 that sit on the Supreme Court of the United States? These are people that are not elected. These are some of the most brilliant minds, legal minds on the planet that take a job that doesn't pay very much. These people easily can make 7 figures at law firms or corporate counsel for corporations, and they do this because they're so brilliant and legally scholarly that they want to try to get it right, no matter which side of the aisle you think they sit on. They're judges. We don't have Republican judges. We don't have Democratic judges. We have judges that try to call balls and strikes. And you don't think that's wrong to get up in their house and in their face and try to intimidate them to change their vote? Where was the outcry for that under Biden? There wasn't any. Oh, and that brings me to my next point this week. You know who both was on Capitol Hill fighting for their funding? NPR, National Public Radio, and PBS. Government dollars for media that's left-sided. And then she changed her tune. I don't think President Trump's all that bad. I think he does a good job. It's because your entity is about to lose their federal funding. Go figure. How do you think CNN and MSNBC are faring right now on their money? Not doing very well. So that was the first hour. It came and went really fast. We talked about a lot of good things. The next hour, we're going to talk about some statistics related to criminal issues, both nationally and state, that I think are important for all of us to think about as a society. And I'm not sitting here advocating that people should not go to jail when they commit a crime. I want you to sit back and think long and hard about what we're doing as a society when we put all these people in prison. Are we better off as a society when they come out? How much does it cost us to house, feed, clothe, and supposedly take care of their physical and mental health when we put them in prison? And I know you're going to say, well, Joe, they did the crime. If you can't do the crime, don't do the time. I agree. But you also have to temper justice with mercy. Justice with mercy. I know I have said that a lot during this broadcast over the last 3 months. It's called the scales of justice. We always have to temper justice and mercy. So we'll be back here in about 2 minutes. Well, we're going to take a break in 2 minutes. Always get 1 minute. Thank you. Always get it off. I never learn. We're going to come back. We're going to have the second hour of the show. Spy for Rent, Corey and Jeff for your guys if you need an investigator. And Judy, thank you for calling in the first hour. If you're not listening, have your first cup of coffee. Get up and join us. Listen to the show. It's fun. It's witty. It's entertaining. We have some fun. We'll make some bad decisions. We'll learn along the way. We'll get better every week. We're learning. Our first quarter of metrics are in. We're going to see if this thing has done anything for anybody, if anybody's listening, if anybody's enjoying it. Or if I waste your Saturday morning, if you're still asleep in the bed with your little sock feet on, getting ready to have your pancakes and sausage and your biscuits and gravy, or go run your 10 miles on Saturday morning. News and weather. We'll be back at the top of the hour, guys. Thanks. Bye.
There's another hour of the Legal Lowdown with Birmingham's lawyer Joe Ingram heading your way. You can ask your question live on the air at 439-9372. That's 439-9372. Or send Joe your question for air via email at questions@ingramlaw.com. If you need a private legal consultation, contact Joe directly at joeingramlaw.com. Stand by for more of the Legal Lowdown with Joe Ingram right after news and weather on News Radio 105.5 WERC.
The proceeding has been a paid program. The opinions expressed are those of the host and do not necessarily represent the views and opinions of WERC, management, employees, or advertisers.
This is iHeartRadio's News Radio 105.5 WERC.
Hundreds of stone-top countertops to choose from at wholesale prices. IGSgranite.com.
They say someone's always watching, listening, waiting. But what if it's your business they're watching? Your private conversations they're listening to? Your secrets they're stealing? Corporate espionage is real. Fraud is real. Data breaches cost businesses millions, sometimes before they even know what's happening. That's where we come in at spyforrent.com. We don't just find the problem, we stop it. Counter surveillance, forensic accounting, deep background checks, bug sweeps. Our team of experts has decades of experience in intelligence and security. We use state-of-the-art technology to protect your business. Your peace of mind is our priority. Your security is our mission. When you work with us, you're in safe hands. Protect your business before it's too late. If you suspect something, you're probably right. It starts with your free consultation. Find us at spyforrent.com. Because if you don't know who's watching, they already have the advantage.
A series of events.
The most important events.
Make for eventful days.
Day by day. What these tariffs are going to mean.
How the market is reacting right now.
The events in Ukraine. More action by Doge.
Found the wasted taxpayer money.
In these eventful times.
These are tough and serious times.
It's time.
The times are changing
So fast.
In any event.
In real time.
Important events.
Check in.
Your version of events.
Information.
News Radio 105.5 WERC.
News Radio 105.5 WERC Birmingham, WERC FM Hoover, and available everywhere with the iHeartRadio app. It's 7 o'clock.
Fire causes 100 propane gas tanks to explode in Centerville near Tuscaloosa. The Brent Volunteer Fire Department responded Friday to the fire at an AmeriGas facility. PIO Jason Elam says a worker saw the fire and alerted everyone on site.
I'm not really 100% sure what started the fire other than a possible arc or, different things, but luckily he was able to get away and get out and get everybody evacuated from the building.
No injuries. Elam says the worker was cleaning residual from a propane tank when he noticed the fire. He says the fire and explosion raised concerns about the site because it's close to Cahaba Medical Care and Bibb Medical Center. The fiancé of University of Alabama grad student Alarissa Derodi is fighting to get him out of jail. ICE detained him this week. His fiancée, Sama Bajani, is trying to figure out how to get Derodi out of federal custody in Jena, Louisiana. He's originally from Iran. Women's March Madness comes to Birmingham. Sweet 16 and Elite 8 games in Legacy Arena. City Councilman Hunter Williams says the games run through Monday and
anytime that we're able to host a large-scale event in a safe and effective way where we have a good experience for those that are visiting and our residents that go experience it, it's a win.
Williams says a win with this NCAA tournament opens the door to more events in the future. A dice game in Mobile County's Pritchard ends in a killing and an arrest. Mobile County deputies are charging J. Dion Blunt and Kenneth Padgett with murder in the death of Jamie Wright inside a house in the wee hours of Thursday morning. Witnesses say an argument broke out among people shooting dice, and it ended in gunfire. I'm Charlie O'Brien, and this is Birmingham's news, traffic, and weather station, News Radio 105.5 WERC.
Scattered showers and storms back in the forecast for this weekend. Starting today, we'll have highs in the 70s. Not a total washout, but keep an eye out for lightning alerts. A low near 63 tonight. Highs around 80 tomorrow. More scattered showers, possibly a storm. And then early Monday morning, the possibility for some strong to severe storms. A first alert weather day. Improving weather Monday afternoon. I'm WBRC First Alert Chief Meteorologist Wes Wyatt on your side.
Right now, it's 64 degrees at Birmingham's news, traffic, and weather station. News Radio 105.5 WERC.
Spring can mean many things.
I can jog my neighborhood route.
Back to the golf course, Debbie.
Getting ready to fire up the mower.
Those things don't mean a thing without the forecast.
Shaping up to be a wet one today, folks.
You need to know before you spring into action.
Listening to the forecast helps me plan out my entire day.
Get up-to-the-minute local spring forecasts on your official spring weather station. News Radio 105.5 WERC.
The following is a paid program. The opinions expressed are those of the host and do not necessarily represent the views and opinions of WERC, management, employees, or advertisers.
He's a tough street-fighting lawyer with the highest ratings for honesty and integrity. He's here for you every Saturday morning to answer your legal questions and get you the help you need. You're listening to The Legal Lowdown with Birmingham's lawyer, Joe Ingram of Ingram Law, live from the studios of News Radio 105.5 WERC. Call in now, 439-9372. That's 439-9372, and ask Joe your legal question, or email the show at questions@joeingramlaw.com. Joe Ingram has more than 20 years experience fighting for his clients here in the state of Alabama. Joe's focus is criminal defense and family law. You don't have to face your legal issue alone. You've got Joe Ingram, Birmingham's lawyer, on your side. In case of sensitive legal matters, you can always reach out directly to Joe at joeingramlaw.com and arrange for a private consultation. And now, Birmingham's defender of the defenseless, protector of the people, and all-around good guy, Joe Ingram.
All right. Saturday morning, we're back. WERC 105 FM. We're live, 706. New York, 906. London, 1206. Paris, 106. Beijing, China, 806. Tokyo, Wagyu beef, 906. Jeff, you've been promising me Wagyu beef for a month now. I'm calling my marker. Where's my Wagyu beef? Just saying. If you need an investigator, spy for rent, Jeff, Corey, they got you covered. They're your guys. We had a good first hour. We're back for the second hour. We didn't get to do a proper introduction this morning because we had lovely Judy call. If you have a question, give us a call, 205-439-9372, 205-439-WERC. You can email the show, questions@joeingramlaw.com, questions@joeingramlaw.com. If you have a sensitive or private nature legal issue that you'd like to discuss this week, please feel free to call the office, 825-5297, 205-825-5297. You can speak with Intake, Elizabeth, Holly, or me about your situation or your case. So, we ran through the first hour. We covered some news. We talked about some national news. We talked about some local news. We talked about some legislation in Alabama, things like that. Now, I want to talk about some statistics related to criminal law. We did divorce statistics in our last show. I want to talk about federal statistics. And don't lose me, folks, but this is really important. You can go find all this information yourself on the federal BOP, Board of Prisons website, or you can look it up at Alabama, ADOC, Alabama Department of Corrections website. So none of this is made up. All this is out there. All this is good information. Something to think about. How many people are in prison in the federal prison system as of Friday. We have 155,100 people in federal prison nationally. Now, we are a country of roughly 300 to 350 million people, depending on how many people are documented or undocumented. That's not a very high number. In fact, it's not even 1% of the population. And you're going to say, well, Joe, do you want to lock everybody up? Absolutely not. Everybody talks about how we are the most highly prison-populated country in the world. That's not true. For 350 million people, 155,000 are in the federal system. That's a low number. It's a significantly low number. And in the state, what state has the most federal prisons? Now, this is a no-brainer if you think about it for a minute. Texas. Texas is a huge state. Texas has 313 federal prisons. Go figure. That is incredible. I did not know that. I've been a lawyer for 22 years. I did not know there were 313 federal institutions in Texas. Makes sense because that's where everybody crosses the border. But I didn't know that. I learned something today. There are 110% more people in federal prison in Texas than there are in colleges. Now, there are a lot of colleges of higher learning in Texas. That number is staggering. There are more federal prisons than there are colleges in the state of Texas. Something to think about there. Okay. Of people in prison in the federal system, 31% are considered white. The rest are considered non-white. Something to think about there. In federal prison, you serve 85% of your time. What that means is you get 54 days off for good time. You serve 85% of your sentence. That is a harsh. It's much harsher than it is the state system. When you are released from federal custody, do you immediately walk out of the big house? No. It's called a step-down measure. You go to a halfway house, which is a roach motel-infested hole, and you live there for 3 to 6 months, and you're reintegrated into society in a halfway house. What do you think is the most charged crime in federal court still today after the 1980s President Reagan and his wife that were beating tough on drugs, tough on crime? Still today, most people are in federal prison for drugs. Go figure. Makes sense. Do you know that fentanyl is the most lethal drug on this earth? We had cocaine and crack in the 80s and the 90s and the 2000s. Then we had prescription drugs, which we still do today. Then we had meth, Breaking Bad. Everybody started making meth. They take all these chemicals that you would not put any one of these substances in your body. We mix them all together in a test tube in a lab, and then you inject meth into your system. What it does to your teeth, what it does to your skin, what it does to your brain, what it does to your internal organs is unreal. And people were putting meth in their system. And now we've kicked it up just another notch. We've gone to fentanyl. That is scary as all get out. Fentanyl is lethal. And if you get hooked on fentanyl, that's worse than heroin. It will kill you. I mean, it takes the smallest amount of fentanyl to kill you. Scary what people do to their bodies. According to the global news, the U.S. has the highest incarceration rate in the world. I disagree with that. If you go look at some studies of Italy and other developed countries, I disagree with that. You know what the difference is? Here is the difference. If you commit a crime in Asia, Iraq, Iran, Pakistan, Afghanistan, we don't put you in prison. We stone you to death. We cut your arm off, you steal. We give you lashes. We go back to the old Bible, to the Old Testament, an eye for an eye. That is how we solve crime in these undeveloped countries. Old Testament, the Quran. That's how they handle their legal system. We have the fairest judicial system on the planet, no matter how you look at it. So there you go, something to think about. In the federal judicial system, we have 5 levels of custody. Minimum security. Joe, what is minimum security? Well, I've had 2 people qualify for this. I had one guy, when he went to federal prison, he wrote me, he said, Joe, this is a great gig. I'm at Maxwell Air Force Gunner Base in Montgomery, Alabama. My job is I rake the sand traps and I put the flags out on the golf course every day. And at 6 o'clock, I rake the sand traps and I pick up the flags off the greens. Great gig. I just can't leave here for the next 26 months. I said, okay, not a bad gig. I'll come see you. That's minimum security. Those are white collar people that qualify there. Then you have low security. Those are dormitories, people that commit a crime, go to federal custody. They get jobs. They just can't walk off. They're behind the wall. Medium security. These are people that have done something that is either a property crime, a theft crime, or even a crime of violence, and they're going to spend a little time behind bars. They're in medium security lockup. High security. These are people that commit crimes of danger. They are a danger to themselves. They are a danger to the community. That's high security. And then we have the greatest institution on the planet called Supermax in Colorado. That's where you're locked down 23 hours a day, 7 days a week. You're let out a couple hours a week to go shower and shave. Your food is brought to you. You have zero knowing of the outside world. That's Supermax. There is a law that is being considered in the federal system, 65 law. Joe, what is the 65 law? This is a bill for release of people that are 65 years of age, and they meet certain criteria. They have been good behavior. Maybe they committed a crime one time in their life. They have a low rate of recidivism. I can't ever say that word. Recidivism. It's a hard word to say. Meaning their chances of reoffending is very low, or that they're not going to do something wrong again. And they have significant health issues. So let's let them out of prison. Now, folks, let me talk to you about something here. I know, Joe, don't do the crime if you can't do the time. I get it. Do you know how much it costs to house, clothe, feed, put somebody in prison and keep them there for 30 or 40 years? It's staggering. It's something we got to think about as a society. I get all the both sides of the coin, but it's something we got to think about. Which country has the best prison system? Norway. If I'm going to commit a crime, I'm going to Norway or Greenland. I think you'll be okay there. Those would be the two best countries if you're going to commit a crime, Norway or Greenland. I would take either. President Trump's trying to ban Greenland. Might change if you go to Greenland and commit a crime there. Just saying. Now let's talk about state statistics. You can look this up on the ADOC, Alabama Department of Corrections website. How many people do you think are in prison in Alabama? The numbers are going to shock you because it's not what you think it is. There are 24,207 males in prison in Alabama. I did not do a consensus last night to see what the population is of Alabama. That number's kind of low. There are 2,472 females in prison. Now, there is only one state institution for females in prison, Julia Tutwiler Prison, down in Monroe County. And people that are on death row, there are Alabama death row. Oh, we have 5 million people in Alabama, according to 24. 10% would be 500,000. 5% would be 250,000. That's less than 1% of the population's in prison. That's relatively low. That's a good number. Okay. All right. Alabama death row. There are 156 people on death row in Alabama. And of the 156, 5 are females. Go figure. Alabama is a forgiving state. You have to do something very, very wrong in Alabama to be a female and be put on death row. Amy Bishop, that shot up the University of Alabama Huntsville over getting tenureship for her being a professor. She's on death row, and she needs to be on death row. She's a killer. She's convicted in court. Well, she admitted guilt, I think. So there you go. In Alabama, there are roughly 27,000 people in prison. Now, that doesn't take into account people that aren't in prison that are on what we call community corrections. That's a new term of art that we have created as a state, as a Senate, as a legislature of judges and lawyers. Community corrections. All that means is you've been convicted of a crime. You're not really a danger to society. It's not worth us putting you in jail. But you have to check in every week within the first 5 days and report. You have to do random drug tests, random alcohol tests to make sure you're compliant, have a job, feed your family, pay your fines, pay your restitution. You're just not going to go sit in an institution. That's called community corrections. So there you go. Oh, And by the way, people that are on death row, I always find this number interesting. We have been, under Kay Ivey, we have been cooking them and killing them like nobody's business the last 8 years. The oldest person on death row, their case goes back to 2003. So we're within 22 years of their conviction of their crime. Now, if you know anything about the judicial system in Alabama, if you are charged with capital murder, your case is going to last 2 to 3 years before you're convicted. So that means that their crime may have been committed as early back as 1999 or 2000, and then they were convicted and their sentence started. 99, 2009, 2009. So they're still 30 years from the crime to the day that we terminate them and put them off the planet for what they did. Go figure. So those are some statistics nationally, state-wise, about criminal cases in Alabama. Anyway, something to think about this morning. If you want to call the show, we're live, 205-439-9372, 205-439-WERC. If you have questions at joeingramlaw.com, questions at joeingramlaw.com. You can always call my office for consultation, 205-825-5297, 205-825-5297. Most of you are headed back from the beach this weekend. Spring break is over. Time to go back to work. The kiddies will be back in school next week. Traffic will be bad. People have made some really bad decisions the last 2 weeks. The phones will start ringing again. And then we'll be ready for spring to be over and headed to summer vacation. That's where we're headed. And I'm already starting to get calls for people that want to get a divorce as soon as school's out because they want to change who's going to have custody next year before school year starts. Happens this time every year. Go figure. So that was the first hour and a half. We ran through really fast. Didn't get to talk a little bit about what we do. My office is in Vestavia, Alabama. You can look us up at joeingramlaw.com. We handle criminal and family law cases all over the state of Alabama. Huntsville, Birmingham, Montgomery, Tuscaloosa, St. Clair County, Bibb County, all the way down to Mobile, and even the Wiregrass area, Houston County as well. So if you have an issue, give us a call. If you have a criminal case, you have a municipal court case, a DUI, shoplifting, possession of a controlled substance, domestic violence. Domestic violence cases go up this time of the year till September, and here's why. I don't know what it is. When the temperature rises, people's body level rises, and they start getting in fights with their friends, their families, their boyfriends, their girlfriends, things like that. The DV cases, domestic violence cases, go up this time of year. I don't know why, but the studies show that domestic violence cases are about to pick up. It always happens this time of year. So if you have a municipal court case anywhere in the greater Birmingham area, all the way from Warrior, Fultondale, Gardendale, Morris, Homewood, Mountain Brook, Vestavia, Irondale, Chelsea, Alabaster, St. Clair County, Moody, Pell City, all these little municipalities, Argo, Trustful. If you have a municipal case in any of these jurisdictions, give us a call. If you need representation, we will be glad to assist you in those cases. If you have a state felony case, most people, when they call, they don't even know if their case is a felony case or a municipal case. Joe committed a crime. Going to break already again? Are you serious? Okay. We're going to wrap up the show here in about after the last break. It's been an entertaining show this morning. I've enjoyed talking to you. If you're listening, give us a call, 205-439-9372, 205-439-WERC. We're going to talk about where we're headed this time of year every year. We'll be back after news and weather. Give us a call. This is Legal Lowdown with Joe Ingram, Birmingham's lawyer. We'll be back.
You're listening to The Legal Lowdown with Birmingham's lawyer, Joe Ingram. If you need confidential legal help off air, reach out to Joe at joeingramlaw.com. Stay tuned for more. Joe will be right back after this break for news and weather on News Radio 105.5 WERC.
Conjuring up a new recipe can be overwhelming.
Just relax. Breathe in.
But reinventing a dish can inspire an entirely new outlook. I'm a little soupy today because honor is coming back. To us Americans, there's nothing like a baker's dozen.
Finally, we've got more than what we've asked for.
Glenn Beck in the kitchen. Back Monday morning at 9.
It's good stuff today. It's good eating.
On News Radio 105.5 WERC.
Fire causes 100 propane gas tanks to explode in Centerville near Tuscaloosa. The Brent Volunteer Fire Department responded Friday to the fire at an AmeriGas facility. PIO Jason Elam says a worker saw the fire and alerted everyone on site.
I'm not really 100% sure what started the fire other than a possible arc. Was able to get away and get out and get everybody evacuated from the building.
No injuries. Elam says the worker was cleaning residual from a propane tank when he noticed the fire. He says the fire and explosion raised concerns about the site because it's close to Cahaba Medical Care and Bibb Medical Center. The fiancé of University of Alabama grad student Alarisa Derodi is fighting to get him out of jail. ICE detained him this week. He's originally from Iran. I'm Charlie O'Brien, and this is Birmingham's news, traffic, and weather station, News Radio 105.5 WERC.
Scattered showers and storms back in the forecast for this weekend. Starting today, we'll have highs in the 70s. Not a total washout, but keep an eye out for lightning alerts. A low near 63 tonight. Highs around 80 tomorrow. More scattered showers, possibly a storm. And then early Monday morning, the possibility for some strong to severe storms. A first alert weather day. Improving weather Monday afternoon. I'm WBRC First Alert Chief Meteorologist Wes Wyatt on your side.
Right now, it's 64 degrees at Birmingham's news, traffic, and weather station, News Radio 105.5 WERC.
News Radio 105.5 WERC. Make us the #1 preset on your car radio and on the free new and improved iHeartRadio app. Listen for all your music radio and podcasts. Free never sounded so good.
You're listening to The Legal Lowdown with Birmingham's lawyer, Joe Ingram. Joe is a 20-year veteran of the Alabama courts, specializing in criminal defense and family law. Call in live with your questions now at 439-9372. That's 439-9372. Or write Joe with your question for the show at questions@joeingramlaw.com. If you need a private legal consultation, email Joe at joeingramlaw.com. Now, welcome back to The Legal Lowdown with Joe Ingram.
We're back. All right. This is Legal Lowdown, 105.5 FM WERC. This is Legal Lowdown with Joe Ingram, Birmingham's attorney. It's 7:34. In about 35 minutes, I'll be on the road. I'm going to run 10 miles this morning. I am so excited. I got 2 packs of goo, 16 ounces of Gatorade. I get to go be Forrest Gump. That's what I live for on Saturday morning. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. Love it, love it, love it. Anyway, it's been a great show this morning. If you have a phone call, please call 205-439-WERC, 205-439-9372. Or you can email us, questions@joeingramlaw.com, as always. Oh, and by the way, Spy for Rent, Jeff and Corey, your guys, if you need an investigator, they got you covered all the time. We had a question come in this morning about What do I do if I get stopped by the police and it's after 10 o'clock? That's where I meet a lot of my clients on Monday morning. Nothing good happens after 10 o'clock between 6 a.m. It's just not a good time to be on the road unless you work third shift, unless you have to be on the road going home from school or work. You have a legitimate reason. But I work a lot late at night. My office is less than a mile from my house. The police sit right down at the bottom of the hill of my office, which I appreciate. Thank you, by the way. But I'm always a little nervous. Are they going to stop me? And if they stop me, they're going to say, "What are you doing out this late?" "I'm going home. I just finished working." "Have you been drinking tonight?" "No, sir, not a drop." "Well, do you know how fast you were going?" "No, sir, I don't think I was going over the speed limit." "Did you know that you crossed the white line?" "No, sir, I didn't know that." "Did you know that you were sweeping?" "No, sir, I didn't know that." "Could you step out of the car, and are you willing to take a breathalyzer test?" "Yes, sir, I am. I'll be glad to do that." Now, here's what's just happened in that conversation. That's an interrogation of you. Where are you going? Where have you been? Have you crossed a line? Do you know if you've broken a crime? Have you committed a traffic violation? All of this information is used against you, and they didn't read you your rights. Are you in custody or are you not in custody? If they pull you over and you try to run from the police, that's called attempt to elude. You just ran from the police. Do you sit there and not answer their questions? Do you hand them your driver's license and your proof of insurance and just sit there and look like a plant? It depends on what kind of officer you get that comes to your window. It depends on what type of car you're driving. I'm sorry, it's called stereotyping. It's called looking at you. Are you driving a 1986 beat up old Caprice Classic that looks like a police car with tinted windows and loud music? Are you driving a BMW? Are you driving a Volvo? Are you male, female? What is the color of your skin? What do you look like? What kind of jewelry do you have on? All of these things, I'm sorry, folks, are going to make a difference what's going to happen in about the next 20 minutes, or whether you're going to be detained and spend the 24 hours in a drunk tank to get out of jail. It's part of life. It's where we are. And there is a philosophy on the street. Oh, if you get stopped for a DUI, don't take the breath test. Don't take the breath test. Don't take the breath test. You can beat the case. You can beat the case. You can beat the case. Don't take the breath test. Yeah. If you have a CDL license, you're a commercial truck driver, and you refuse the CDL, and you don't beat the DUI, they're going to suspend your license for a year under Alabama Law Enforcement Agency rules and regulations. I had a client that was highly intoxicated, and when I say highly, like 0.30, which is 3 times the legal limit in Alabama, passed out at a stop sign. He refused the breathalyzer test. Well, he went to rehab. We got him cleaned up. Did everything right except for one thing. I can't fix the fact that you refuse to take the breath test. I can't change the fact that you're not going to drive a car for a year instead of 90 days. Please, folks, do not be your own lawyer. Go hire a lawyer in the courtroom to help you. That is something to think about this morning. That is for the question that just came in. When you get pulled over, be very respectful. Mr. Officer, Miss Officer, here's my driver's license. Here's my proof of insurance. If they ask you what you're doing, I'm driving a car. I'm on the road. I have a license. I'm entitled to drive this car on the road. Now, I'm not talking about planes, trains, and automobiles with John Candy and the comedian. I can't think of his name. I'm drawing a blank. Is this car safe for the road? And John Candy says, oh, yeah, I think it is. And it was burned up to a crisp. It didn't even have a convertible top on it. I'm not talking about that. If you are driving a safe car, 4 wheels, 4 tires, steering wheel, headlights, turn signals, it's a driving car, you have a right to be on the road 24/7. But nothing good happens between 10 and 6. It's just a fact of life. My mother used to tell me, Joe, the decisions you make today will affect the rest of your life. So that was some of the best advice my mom gave me. I hear it every day. The decisions you make today will affect the rest of your life. I hear it all the time. And I repeat that to my clients. The decisions you made today can and will affect you the rest of your life. Good information, Mom. Miss you. Anyhow, be respectful. Listen to the officer. Were you speeding? Sir, I don't know if I was speeding or not. Less said, the better. Did you go over the white line? Sir, I don't recall. That's not a yes. That's not a no. That's, I don't recall. I can't remember. Then they're going to say, have you been drinking? Never say, I had 1 beer. I had 2 beers. You're taking the breath test right then. Had 1 beer. When? Hour ago. I don't care what your body weight is. I don't care if you're 5 feet, 6 feet, 105, 205. You're going to take a breathalyzer test. And unless you're under 0.08 and they decide to hit you driving while intoxicated, you're going to go to jail unless you meet a really nice officer and you can talk your way out of a patrol car. And when I was young, between 16 and 19, I talked my way out of a patrol car 3 times in handcuffs. I did. 3 times. I talked my way out of a patrol car. I don't know how I did it. I knew then I was going to be a lawyer. I thought if you can argue your way out of the back of a patrol car in handcuffs, you might be able to be a lawyer. Go figure. And here I am today. So that's something to think about. Be careful on the roads between 10 and 6. And if you've had too much to drink, listen, folks, park the car, throw the keys in the trash can, call a friend, call an Uber, call a taxi. The money you're going to spend for a lawyer for a DUI, the money you're going to spend if you kill somebody in a drunk driving case, the money you're spend in insurance if you have a car wreck is astronomical today for just taking the keys and not getting behind the wheel of a car. That's all I'm saying. I'm not preaching. I'm just trying to help you here. Just giving you good information. That's where all this starts. And if you have a controlled substance, if you take Xanax, Klonopin, depression medication, if you take high blood pressure medication, any of these medications that 90% of the people on this planet take for whatever reason, and they need it, okay? People have chemical imbalances. Please have your prescription bottle in your car. Please don't have one tablet in your purse or your change bag or in your wallet or in your seat or in your little cup holder in your car. That will get you arrested for unlawful possession of a controlled substance, even if you have a legitimate prescription. You're still going to go have to see the judge or the man to get the case resolved. Always have your prescription bottles in your purse or in your car. Just food for thought there. Something to think about. Anyway, it's been a wonderful show this morning. It's Saturday. Alabama's playing basketball today. I think they're playing Duke. Big game. Yeah, national game. And people are coming back from spring break. We're headed for the home stretch towards graduation. We're going to talk about commencement speeches the next month or so. Some of the greatest commencement speeches I have ever heard. Steve Jobs of Apple probably gave the greatest commencement speech on this planet. And we'll be talking about commencement speeches the next few weeks. And do you remember your commencement speeches? Most people don't. They just want the diploma and get out the door. I've always enjoyed listening to my commencement speeches, the people they bring in to inspire you along your past journey of what you've just completed. Not just you, your friends, your family, your mom, your dad, everybody that supported you on your journey towards your higher education, your higher plane, to be a better person in society. That's something to think about. I always like to think about those things. It's inspiring. And we'll talk about some really good books that you might want to read this summer. I love a book list for the summer when things slow down and you get to read a little more. I'm not talking about the news. I'm talking about books. Whether you read books online, podcast, or you actually read a hard paper book. Books to read to give you something to think about. That's what we're going to talk about the next few weeks as we head into the greatest months of the year. So anyway, this is Legal Lowdown with Birmingham, Joe Ingram's lawyer. You can call the show. We still have 12 minutes, 205-439-9372, 205-439-WERC. You can email us, questions@joeingramlaw.com, questions@joeingramlaw.com. If you have a sensitive nature this week, you can call the office, 205-825-5297, 205-825-5297. You can send us an intake form or an AI text chat, which I get 24/7, and I check those, joe@joeingramlaw.com. You can check us out on the web. We practice all over the state, from Huntsville, Birmingham, Montgomery, Tuscaloosa, St. Clair County, and even down in the Houston Wiregrass area. So that is the show this week. We got, how many minutes we got left? 8 minutes? 8 minutes. What can we do for 8 minutes? I don't know what we can do for 8 minutes. I'm underprepared. I'm going to get in trouble tomorrow by my agent. A little unprepared this week. I'm going to predict that P. Diddy's trial will last. Let's see, when Bang was here 2 weeks ago, Bang said November. I'm starting to think he might be right. I think the P. Diddy show goes to the fall. We're already into April. We haven't even started striking the jury yet. The jury questionnaires haven't gone out yet. I think the P. Diddy show goes well into the fall. Yeah. I was off on that one. He should have taken a bet with me. Bang would have done well. Anyway, the P. Diddy show will go on. We will follow that in the news every week. I will stay more on top of that. I think that case has a lot of implications and issues that we need to talk about. Oh, I got some specialists that are coming in the next few weeks that are going to talk about the cases that are affecting all of us as a society right now. We all have social media. The kids, the college students, the high school students are all using social media platforms because they are hypersexed. There are so many issues about that. It is so scary today, the implications of that as compared to 30 years ago when I was a teenager. We didn't have any of this stuff. And the penalties can change the rest of your life from where you live, where you work, if you get to go to college, if you get to have a career, if you have to register as a sex offender. All of these issues are so important today. The Child Protection Act that went into effect in 2024 in October, that first case came out this week, the very first test case. Those cases are going to be coming fast and furious over the next 2 years. And it is sad and it is scary. And it is a conversation we need to be having. We need to have judges, prosecutors, defense attorneys, and police officers go to high school gymnasiums all over this city, this state, and talk to the young people about social media, what you're putting on social media, what you think you're not putting on social media. Snapchat is the worst one of all. They say, oh, I put it out there, it disappears. That's not true. It's still there. It's on your phone. If you back up your phone to the iCloud, it's there. I'm not sure about Androids or there's a couple other versions of the phones. Let's say there's an Android, there's a Google phone, there's I was at a phone store yesterday. I'm not up on all the technology phones, but the information is still there. And in divorce cases, it's almost a given now. If there's infidelity, we are searching the phones. Corey and Jeff, we just file the motions. The judges grant it. We go get the cell phone. We see what you're doing. We track you down. We see who you're seeing, see where you go, see if you're meeting people at a hotel, at a bar, if you're having conversations, if you're texting the person, if you're not sexually involved with the person, are you having a affair of the heart? Is one worse than the other? Is one better than the other? Those are issues we're going to be talking about over the next coming weeks. Because this time of year, as we get into warmer weather, people heat up, people start going outdoors. I had dinner out last night. We sat outside. It was beautiful. Love it. Except you get to mosquito season. Then you get bitten by the mosquitoes. That's when everybody runs indoor for the air, except for me, because I love the heat. The hotter, the better. Anyway, this has been the Legal Lowdown with Joe Ingram, Birmingham's lawyer, 105.5 FM on the south side, just off the campus of UAB in Regions Barron Field, where we'll be spending time this spring. We always encourage you to listen to the show at iHeartRadio or download my podcast, The Legal Lowdown with Joe Ingram, or give us a call this week if you need to talk about a case. People listen to this show and they'll call in. We are getting referrals, 205-825-5297. We'll be glad to talk to you if you have an issue. Now, it's Saturday. Go have a great Saturday. Take your kids, take your friends, family out to the park, get some exercise. I'm going to go do mine. Watch some great basketball today. Have a great week. Go be the best person you can be. Live the best life you can. You only get one shot at this. The older you get, the faster it gets. And last time I checked, nobody's coming back. You only get one shot at this. Live it right. I got to go tomorrow to get the little star on my driver's license so I can get on a plane. That snuck up on me. I had to go find a birth certificate. I had to get my Social Security card. I got all my credentials. Now I can get on a plane again come June 1. They snuck that one in on us fast. I don't know where that came from. Do you know what the lines are to get your driver's license? They are huge. They're booking people into June to get your driver's license renewed. That one got past me. I wasn't prepared for that. I wasn't. I'm kind of in the loop, but that one caught me off guard about 4 or 5 weeks ago. I was like, man, I didn't know this was coming. So if you need to get the star on your driver's license, folks, you need to go to ALEA, ALEA.gov, and you need to go. There are only certain places you can go in Alabama to get your driver's license renewed with the star if you plan on traveling this summer and you plan to go by airplane. You need to take care of that. Oh, and by the way, if your passport is expired like mine, unless you have special planning trips, it's going to be about 6-8 weeks to get your passport. Anyway, this has been the Legal Lowdown with Joe Ingram, Birmingham's lawyer on the South Side, 105.5 FM. Listen to us on our podcast. We always enjoy spending this time with you. Thank you for listening to the show. Please share it with your friends, your family, your foes, anybody on Instagram, Facebook, wherever you listen to your podcast, to get the message out for the good word. We're going to get some guests back in here now that spring break is over. I've given people some breaks, but start calling in favors. Y'all have a good week. Got to go. Bye.